Welcome and thank you for joining me for today's session. My name is Joseph Budd and I'm a certified financial planner and managing partner with Budd Wealth Management. We have developed and refined our process over the last 20 years to work with families that aspire to a work optional lifestyle. We hope to put all the pieces of the financial puzzle together for our clients. Follow us on LinkedIn and Facebook where we post interesting personal finance content and invitations to events like this on a regular basis. Today, we will be discussing how to retain your brain. This session is being recorded and you'll receive a link to the recording in a follow-up email. Let's get started. Can your brain get younger? In some illuminating studies, researchers perform magnetic resonance imaging (MRI) scans on participants' brains. Some of the participants implemented key lifestyle changes, the same ones we'll discuss later. Follow-up brain scans taken 6 months to a year later revealed that their brains looked younger than before. It was as if the participants in the experimental group had put their brains in a time machine. It's understandable that we're desperate for a quick fix to one of the greatest collective health fears we have: losing your memory and having your mind go from a high-functioning piece of biological wizardry to a lump of gray matter that struggles to remember what day it is. When I say wizardry, I'm not exaggerating. A healthy brain is an amazing thing. It can effectively learn, remember, manage emotions, analyze, make good decisions, create, and innovate. A healthy brain can also let you do the electric slide, laugh at people doing the electric slide, navigate, and hit a perfect golf shot. Well, sometimes. A well-functioning brain is essential for being the best version of you. So can we prevent, at least slow, the aging of our brains? Today we'll discuss action steps you can take to protect your brain and optimize your brain health today and tomorrow so that you can remain being the best version of yourself. Dr. Mark Milstein is a leading scientific researcher on neuroscience, health, and happiness. His insights provide science-based solutions to keep the brain healthy, lower the risk of dementia, boost productivity, and maximize longevity. He earned both his PhD in biological chemistry and his Bachelor of Science in molecular, cellular, and developmental biology from UCLA. The views and opinions expressed herein are those of the author, who is not affiliated with Hartford Funds. If you are concerned about your brain health or cognitive function, it's a good idea to speak with your doctor or a healthcare professional who can evaluate your cognitive function and provide recommendations for management and treatment if necessary. Here are 3 areas we'll consider: your age versus your brain's age, the importance of brain health, and how to age-proof your brain. Let's begin with our analysis in the first area. Just because you're getting older doesn't mean your brain has to age at the same rate. It may sound strange, but our brains are often not the same age as our chronological age. For example, a person could be 60 years old and have a brain of a 50 or perhaps 70-year-old. We'll talk about how this can be, but for now, it's an important concept to understand and to realize that you have significant control over the age of your brain. More and more research points us to a compelling conclusion and powerful message that we, not our genes, can have control over our cognitive health today and the destiny of our brains. You may have heard of blue zones. They're areas around the world where people live the longest and healthiest lives. Icaria, Greece, Aglastra region, Sardinia, Loma Linda, California, Nicoya, Pennsylvania, Peninsula, Costa Rica. Similarly, researchers have identified a group of people called super agers, who are in their 80s and beyond that have cognitive function of those decades younger. Since 2008, Northwestern scientists have studied superaging using magnetic resonance imaging, MRI. Scientists measured the thickness of the cortex in 24 superagers and 12 members of a control group. Another study followed 340 superagers. Because superagers lose brain volume more slowly than their peers, they may be better protected from dementia. Common habits of superagers: live in an active lifestyle with exercise. People in their 80s who exercised at high intensity for 20 to 40 minutes a day have an aerobic capacity of people approximately 30 years younger. Embrace mental challenges. The moment you feel like something is too hard is the moment you have the best opportunity to fortify your brain and create new pathways. Social butterflies. They're typically surrounded by family and friends and can often be found volunteering in the community. Manage stress. Superagers have a great resilience in the face of stress. Some stress is good for you, but too much stress can cause chronic inflammation and lead to anxiety, depression, and dementia. We'll touch on some of these habits that the superagers share later, but next, let's see how you can find out the age of your brain. More information on the blue zones. In these areas, people tend to live well into their 90s and 100s, and they suffer from lower rates of chronic diseases such as heart disease, cancer, and diabetes. Researchers have attributed the longevity and health of these populations to a variety of factors, including a mostly plant-based diet, regular physical activity, strong social connections, and a sense of purpose and meaning in life. While we are not at the point where every person can slide into a brain scanner and find out their brain age, here are a few factors that can help give you a sense of your brain age. Ask yourself the following questions. How well can I manage my day? It is understandable to misplace your keys or forget an appointment from time to time, but any signs of increasing forgetfulness are something we want to address. We don't want to ignore any signs of mental decline. A condition called mild cognitive impairment, MCI, impacts approximately 12 to 18% of those over 65 years of age. MCI is not dementia, but it is increasing signs of memory issues and decreasing cognitive function. It can be a precursor and raise the risk of developing dementia. Quote from Melissa K. Heckler, "The Aging Brain and Executive Functions Revisited: Implications from Meta-Analytic and Functional Connectivity Evidence" from the Journal of Cognitive Neuroscience. How well can I move and maintain my balance? Your brain controls your balance, and balance is use it or lose it skills. Lose it or balance increases the risk of falls, which can cause head injuries. Head injuries increase the risk of dementia. As we get older, we can participate in fewer activities that keep our balance strong. How well can I remember important information? We want to dispel the myth that losing memory is a normal aging process. Significant memory loss is not normal. We currently live in a world where most of the things we want to recall are stored at our fingertips in our phones. Since recall can be a use it or lose it skill, we want to make sure we are still practicing learning and remembering information. When we practice our recall, we strengthen our memories. How fast can I walk? Studies have shown that walking speed is tied to memory function. It's important to take an assessment of our walking speed. You don't need to power walk everywhere you go, but consider short bursts of increased walking pace even for a couple of minutes a day. A study found 9 minutes a day of more intense walking can improve memory. How old do I feel? This is a powerful connection between your perspective and healthy aging. Studies have found that those with a positive attitude toward the aging process have a 50% reduced chance of developing dementia. Those with a healthy attitude towards the aging process often participate in activities that make the brain more youthful and thus protected. Some people might think my grandmother had dementia, my mom had it, and I'm going to get it. The good news is serious mental decline is not an inevitable part of aging. For example, it's estimated that a third of all current cases of dementia could have been prevented by changes in lifestyle. 2019 Alzheimer's Association research found that certain lifestyle factors have a greater impact than your genes do on whether you'll develop memory-related diseases. In 2020, researchers at Rush Medical Center in Chicago found that those who followed recommendations for simple lifestyle modifications reduced the risk of developing Alzheimer's by nearly 60%. Only 1 in 5% of all cases of Alzheimer's are strictly genetic. 1 to 5%. That means most of us are not destined to develop Alzheimer's based on our genes. Those 1 to 5% of strictly genetic cases are due to deterministic genes, rare genes that, if inherited, mean that someone will definitely develop early onset Alzheimer's. That's when the disease sets in between one's early 40s and mid 50s. In another study, people with the highest genetic risk who maintained the brain-healthy lifestyles lowered the risk of dementia by half compared to people of similar genetic risk who did not maintain them. While there are no guarantees to prevent mental decline, it's important to know that we can have an impact on our brain health. Now let's move on to our next section, the importance of brain health. One of the things that makes a brain older or age prematurely is the buildup of trash and toxins. The trash is a byproduct of the work your brain cells do. Each of our brain cells is like a hustling, bustling Manhattan. Just like how a city can get dirty in the process of living, your brain gets dirty as well. Filled with a waste in the form of leftover chemical reactions, environmental toxins, old damaged cells, and no longer needed proteins. Your 3-pound brain makes 5 pounds of trash a year. This trash is normally recycled or flushed out. But if those processes break down, the trash can build up and damage the brain. Plaques and tangles are 2 most common forms of brain trash found in Alzheimer's disease. Plaques are deposited of a protein fragment called beta amyloid that build up in the spaces between nerve cells. Tangles are twisted fibers of another protein called tau, rhymes with wow, that build up inside cells. Plaques and tangles stop communication between nerve cells and cause them to die. Vascular dementia is cognitive impairment caused by damage to the blood vessels in the brain. Buildup of waste in general can lead to symptoms such as diminished focus, loss of productivity, and a drastic reduction in overall energy. Signs and symptoms of biological aging, simply put, the more trash, the older the brain. So, can we get rid of the trash? While there is no brain shampoo, scientists have made a series of discoveries that show your body has a powerful cleaning method to literally take out the trash. We'll talk about how your body can get rid of the brain trash in just a minute. The costs associated with dementia can be significant. In addition to medical costs, other areas of expense may include caregiving, medication, and housing needs. Let's touch on some of the trends that are increasing the cost of dementia and Alzheimer's. According to the Alzheimer's Association, people 65 and older survive an average of 4 to 8 years after a diagnosis, yet some live as long as 20 years with the disease. Alzheimer's diseases are on the rise. 2023 estimate for Americans living with Alzheimer's is 6.7 million. 2030 estimate of 8.5 million, and 2050 estimate is 12.7. To plan for your financial needs during the course of Alzheimer's disease, you'll need to consider all the costs that you might face now and in the future. Since Alzheimer's is a progressive disease, the type and level of care needed will intensify over time. The more financial planning that can be done soon after an Alzheimer's diagnosis, the better prepared one will be for financial issues and expenses, especially while people can still make financial and caregiving decisions for themselves. Concerning the cost of Alzheimer's medication, one new drug, Aduhelm, is priced at approximately $28,000 a year. Medicare typically will cover 80% of the cost of medication. For just that one drug, patients would pay 20% of the cost, or $5,600. Medicare has limited coverage for this medication to beneficiaries enrolled in clinical trials. Next, let's take a look at potential caregiving and housing costs. Initially, a person with a dementia diagnosis can live independently. Often care is provided by family and friends, but as the disease progresses, full-time care from a home health aide, a person hired to help with basic daily living activities and physical care, or require assistance with shopping, cooking, and paying bills may be needed. During the middle stages of Alzheimer's, it becomes necessary to provide 24-hour supervision to keep the person with dementia safe. As the disease progresses into the late stages, around-the-clock care requirements become more intensive. Making the decision to move into a long-term care, assisted living, or nursing home care may be very difficult, but it's not always possible to continue providing the level of care needed at home. Among the 1.2 to 1.4 million long-stay residents in the U.S., at least 2/3 are estimated to have Alzheimer's disease and related dementias. Among nursing home admissions, which are commonly precipitated by hospitalization, more than 40% of the patients are estimated to have Alzheimer's disease and related dementias or cognitive impairment. Medicare covers up to 100 days of skilled nursing care per illness, but there are a number of requirements that must be met before the nursing home stay will be covered. The result of the requirements is that Medicare recipients are often discharged from a nursing home before they are ready. Medicare does not cover the cost of long-term stays in nursing homes. Medicaid may pay for nursing home care in all 50 states. In the District of Columbia, Medicaid will pay for nursing home care for people who require that level of care and meet the program's financial eligibility requirements. Be aware that the financial requirements at the level of care requirements vary based on the state. Furthering the complexity is that the financial requirements changed based on the marital status of the Medicaid beneficiary applicant. For those who are eligible and meet the income and asset limits, Medicaid will pay for the complete cost of nursing home care, including room and board. Medicaid generally requires a person exhaust most of their assets before it kicks in. Medicaid is a form of welfare, or at least that's how it began. So to be eligible, you must become impoverished under the program's guidelines. Medicaid will cover the cost of an ongoing long-term basis for however long that level of care is required, even if it is required for the remainder of one's life. The total lifetime cost of care for someone with dementia is estimated at $392,874 in 2021 dollars, almost $400,000. These costs may include medical expenses that include doctor's visits, hospitalizations, and Medicare costs. Caregiving costs. Dementia patients often require round-the-clock care, which can be provided by either family members or professional caregivers. This can be a significant expense, particularly if the patient requires skilled nursing care. Home modifications. As the disease progresses, patients may require modifications to their home to make it safer and more accessible. These modifications can include installing handrails, wheelchair ramps, and stair lifts. Lost income. Caregivers may need to reduce their work hours or stop working altogether to take care of their loved ones with dementia. This can result in a significant loss of income. Legal and financial fees. As the disease progresses, patients may become unable to manage their own affairs. This can lead to legal and financial issues that require the assistance of an attorney or financial professional. Hospice and end-of-life care. In the later stages of dementia, patients may require hospice or end-of-life care. These services can be expensive and may not be covered by insurance. From a financial standpoint, obviously, we'd all love to stay there are things that we need to do to eliminate the risks of dementia. Alzheimer's and mental decline, while may not be practical, I think we can all agree that if we could postpone the age at which it occurs, it would impact this number and beyond the number our quality of life. And if there's anything we can do to maintain a healthy brain as long as we can, we should be interested in doing that. There are steps you can take to prepare for the potential costs of cognitive decline for you and your loved ones. Start planning early. Even if you don't have a family history of the disease, it's important to start thinking about the potential costs associated with it. Consider long-term care insurance. Long-term care insurance can help cover the costs of care if you develop dementia and need assistance with daily living activities. Consider setting up a trust. A trust can help protect your assets and ensure that they're used to pay for your care if you develop dementia. Consult a financial professional. A financial professional can help you develop a plan to pay for the cost of dementia. It can also help you explore investment options and create a retirement plan that considers potential costs of dementia. A financial professional or elder care law attorney can help you set up documents that may be needed, such as a durable power of attorney, trusts, a living will, and a durable power of attorney for health care. Talk with your loved ones, have an open and honest conversation about your plans for dementia. They can provide support and help ensure that your wishes are followed. Our brains do change as we age, and our mental functioning changes too. A youthful brain is more focused, can learn and retain more information, and is more resilient to many conditions. The average human brain shrinks by approximately 5% per decade after the age of 40. As you might imagine, a shrinking and shriveling brain can have a devastating impact on memory, focus, and productivity. Why that's important to your lifestyle? Think about some of the things you enjoy. To enjoy these things, you need a healthy brain. Trying to do these things with an unhealthy brain would be challenging. A healthy brain has full and plump, not shrinking size. A shrinking brain loses functionality and is at risk of a long-term list of disorders. Think of your brain cells like tires. They need to be full to function. Minimal brain trash. Trash builds up, interferes with your brain cells' ability to communicate with each other, eventually causing the cells to shrink and die, and loss of connections. The keys to a healthy, youthful brain lie in the brain's connections to the rest of the body. Finally, let's discuss our last section. Wherever Pete Sampras, the legendary tennis player, traveled, he carried with him a roll of black masking tape. That tape wasn't for his racket or injuries. Every time Sampras entered a new hotel room, he took the tape and covered every electronic light in the room. Clocks, fire alarms, cooling units, and even the little red light on the TV that stays on when the TV's off. If daylight peeked through the drapes, they were taped closed. Anything that emitted light got smothered by the black tape. Why? Sampras discovered that he played better, was more focused, and had more energy when he slept in true darkness. Sampras knew that light, no matter how dim, had the potential to wake him from sleep. He knew instinctively what scientists have since learned through research and studies. Artificial light interferes with our natural sleep cycles, and disrupted sleep messes with our brains. Sleep is perhaps the greatest ally in the fight to preserve your brain, and quality, deep, restorative sleep is crucial to your brain health. Sleep cycles. When we sleep, we go through 3 stages of sleep that make up a 90-minute cycle. Each cycle creates various levels of brain electricity. Number 1, light sleep. Electrical activity is similar to the amount of when you're awake. 2, deep sleep. Very low electrical activity relative to light and REM sleep. And 3, REM sleep. A higher level of electrical activity than when you're awake. Deep sleep is anti-aging, regenerating, and rejuvenating body repair phase of sleep. Brain activity slows down significantly, and this is the time your brain wrings the trash out. 80 billion brain cells before fluid from your spinal cord floods your brain to wash it away. 7 to 9 hours a night. It seems that every time you read an article about the number of hours of sleep that you need, you need to get a different figure. Here's the bottom line. For most people, a healthy brain needs somewhere between 7 to 9 hours a night. But the number of hours of sleep you need is specific to you. There is a rare group of people who can function at high levels both physically and mentally on significantly less sleep, such as 4 hours a night. They are called short sleepers, and it's believed there are genetics involved with that. True, short sleepers likely account for less than 1% of the population. Some people who think they are short sleepers are really just sleep deprived, and thus vulnerable to all the issues that come with lack of sleep. If you believe you might be a short sleeper, it's important to have an honest assessment to determine whether that's really the case. You need the number of hours of sleep that you get when you wake up in the morning feeling refreshed and energized for the day. There is such a thing as too much sleep. If you're sleeping more than 9 hours a night, you should be evaluated by a personal physician. Too much sleep can be a sign of conditions such as heart disease, diabetes, depression, and can raise the risk of memory issues, back and neck pain, and obesity. Physical changes to the brain. Dr. Nedergaard at the University of Rochester was trying to understand how the brain repairs itself after an injury. She wanted to investigate how sleep played a role in the repair process. While in a deep sleep, her subjects experienced a phenomena that seemed like something out of a horror movie. She observed that the brains of the sleeping patients shrank down to 65% of their normal size. Further research discovered that the shrinking process squeezed out the trash, waste, and toxins from the brain cells and created empty space into which the garbage could drain. Once the debris was squeezed into the empty portals in the brain while the volume of the brain was still reduced, fluid from the spinal cord plunged into the brain for a brain wash. Now, to better understand how you can use sleep to keep your brain and immune system strong, let's take a deeper dive into breakthroughs that can help improve sleep. You might be surprised to hear that sleep difficulty is related to such diseases and conditions as diabetes, heart disease, depression, anxiety, cancer, obesity, as well as Alzheimer's and dementia. Sleep in true darkness. You probably think you sleep in the dark, but do you? Tonight, take a look around your bedroom. Is it really dark or just modern dark? Our bedrooms are now filled with charging cell phones, night lights, and light from a television, streaming device, or computer. We now know these little bits of light add up to light pollution that can keep your brain from reaching the deepest brain-boosting levels of sleep. Unplug these devices before you get into bed and move them to another room. You could even invest in blackout shades and curtains, and if you want to pull a Pete Sampras, use black tape to cover any little lights you can't remove. A 2022 study investigated even small amounts of light prevent in the bedroom had an impact on health. Chill out for better sleep. Have you ever tossed and turned trying to sleep in a room that was too warm? People find it easier to fall asleep in a cool rather than warm room, and there's a reason for that. To see why, let's explore your sleep cycle a bit. The first phase of the sleep cycle, light sleep, lasts about 20 to 30 minutes. During light sleep, your brain has significant electrical activity, which is why you wake up in this phase of sleep cycle. You will feel most refreshed. Your brain lowers your core body temperature to transition from light sleep to deep sleep. A study found that if you're having trouble falling asleep, lowering the temperature of your bedroom a couple of degrees helps you reach deeper, brain-boosting sleep. To reduce the temperature of your room, lower the thermostat and open up a window slightly. You can also look into lighter, more breathable sheets, blankets, and pajamas. Get out early. You prepare for the next night's sleep by getting outside in natural light first thing in the morning. Spend 10 to 15 minutes outside every morning, and you'll be surprised on how setting your brain clock helps you fall asleep at night. Walk your dog, check the mail, or just take a stroll around the block. What if I wake up? That's why you shouldn't worry if you wake up briefly during the night. It's a natural part of the sleep process. In fact, knowing that waking up is normal is the first step to getting effective sleep. If you do wake up fully, avoid looking at the clock or thinking about tomorrow's to-do list. Take several deep breaths and remind yourself your brain simply finished the cycle of sleep and now it's time for the next cycle. The gut-brain connection. Your gut contains 500 million neurons, similar to your brain cells, which communicate with your brain via the vagus nerve. This communication is called your gut-brain axis. Can affect mood, sleep, and brain health. 60 tons of food pass through the intestines of an average human in their lifetime. 60 tons. And if you've ever been on a cruise, you can double that number. What we eat can calm or increase inflammation, help us lose or gain weight, or even improve our brain function. In fact, diet plays a role in essentially every aspect we've discussed so far. Our overall brain health, mood, sleep, and productivity, as well as heart, immune, and metabolic health. Let's delve into simple things you can do to feed your brain and learn some surprising new insights to get the most benefits from your next meal. There are a dizzying number of complex, restrictive, and even bizarre diets out there, and new fads or trends in eating pop up seemingly every week. If we cut through the noise, a lot of the research on the connection between diet and brain health improvements point to a Mediterranean type diet as being the best. That's a diet filled with fruits and vegetables, bursting with beans, nuts, whole grains, featuring fish, seafood, good fats like olive oil. The Mediterranean diet lowered the risk of Alzheimer's even in those with a genetic risk factor for the disease. A Mediterranean diet is an excellent foundation because it's easier to follow than many other diets. Diets that are too restrictive aren't sustainable in the long term for most people. Instead of thinking about limiting the foods you love, think about adding heart and brain healthy foods such as fish, walnuts, and olive oil, and eating both at the same time. I'm not suggesting you just double the amount of food you're eating. Instead, make some key substitutions and additions. One way to keep it simple is to just double check whether you have these 5 items or most of them in your actual or virtual shopping cart. If you are consuming a combo of most of these 5 foods, you are likely going in a great direction. Fatty fish such as salmon, avocados, nuts, blueberries, cruciferous veggies like arugula, bok choy, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, cauliflower, collard greens, kale, and others. What not to eat. A study published in Neurology followed subjects for 12 years. The results suggest that combining processed meat, such as sausage and cured meat, with a starchy carbohydrate like a potato or sugary snack increases the risk of dementia. You might be saying, you're taking away everything that I love to eat. Don't despair. In the same study, when people ate health and brain healthy foods at the same time as highly processed sugary foods, it helped lower the risk of dementia. Some stress is good. We hear it all the time. Stress is bad. It's true that too much stress isn't a good thing, physically or psychologically, so we strive to have a stress-free life. While this may be a surprise to some people, the answer is no. Some stress is good for you. The right kind of stress motivates and focuses the brain and can even slow down brain aging. Beneficial stress is manageable and occurs in a burst or a moment. Manageable stress cleans up brain trash. It turns on a program called autophagy, which cleans up old, dead cells and removes waste and toxins, keeping your brain clean and young. Think of a challenge you want to tackle or something that makes you nervous. That's the type of stress that grows new brain cells in the hippocampus. Just like a car, if you don't drive, if there's no stress at all, it falls apart. On the other hand, if you keep asking it to overperform, if you're constantly on edge, it will break down. Boosting happiness can help manage stress. Boosting happiness minimizes and lowers anxiety, depression, and pain symptoms. Even small increases in happiness extend longevity. It's not easy to completely define what happiness is, but it can generally be defined as being in a good mood, having positive emotions and enjoyment, and being satisfied with life. Research found that the risk of dying due to any cause lowered by 19% for happy older people. Find the right amount. Here's a big question. How do we find just the right amount of stress to keep our brains and immune systems running like a finely tuned Ferrari? We'll talk about some ways to do that next. A study found that stress and unhappiness can be caused by your mind's wandering. Why? When our minds wander, they wander to unhappy, stressful, and anxious thoughts. Much of that stress comes from worrying about the past or the future, and the key is being present and in the moment, which is associated with greater happiness and less stress. One way to be present and manage stress is to practice mindfulness. Before we learn how, let's look at a Harvard study that took people who had never practiced mindfulness and had them do it for 8 weeks. The study took pictures of participants' brains before they started, during the 8 weeks, and after the 8 weeks. After practicing about 30 minutes of mindfulness a day for 8 weeks, the participants' brains changed. The hippocampus, the part of your brain that allows you to learn new things, grew. The prefrontal cortex, the brain part that calms your stress response, got stronger and larger. And the amygdala, which manages our fight or flight stress response, shrank. People who practiced mindfulness still had stress, but they were better able to control and manage it. This highlights that we have the power to change our brain's mood and how we respond to stress. Breathing exercises. There are many mindfulness exercises, some of which involve breathing, some of which don't. If you like breathing exercises, here's a simple and effective one that can be done at any time you have a spare minute. Number 1, say to yourself or out loud, breathe in calmness, breathe out anxiety. On the breathe in calmness, inhale through your nose. On the breathe out anxiety, exhale through your mouth. Try to focus only on the breath going in your nose and out of your mouth. If you're having trouble getting in the present moment, place your hand on your stomach and focus on breathing for 5 seconds. Feel the rise and fall of your abdomen with each breath. If your mind wanders, that's normal. Don't be upset or stressed. Instead, gently try to bring it back to focus using a word such as breath or focus. It sounds simple, but for many people, it's harder than it looks. If 30 seconds feels like 30 minutes, don't feel bad. It can take some practice. If you can do 30 seconds, be proud of yourself, and tomorrow try to add another 30 seconds. Think of it like going to the gym and working up reps. Change your perspective. 2 people might experience the same stressful situation but have very different responses. Stress can actually be quite useful, or you can train your brain to view the stress in exactly that light. Even a bit of stress from sitting in traffic or standing in line at the grocery store can be beneficial. These bursts or moments of acute stress can be healthy for the brain for a variety of reasons. For instance, a quick dose of cortisol can turn on the process of autophagy, which cleans up waste and toxins. So next time you're in the 10 items or less line at the grocery store and the person in front of you has 37 cans of cat food and 37 different coupons, don't curse them. Thank them, and by doing so, shift your perspective on stress as something that can be beneficial. Rose, thorn, bud. Take a moment to think of the best thing that happened from the last 24 hours. That's your rose. Next, think of the most challenging part of the previous 24 hours. That's your thorn. Now think of something specific you are looking forward to in the next 24 hours. That's your bud. This technique has been shown in a 2019 study to be an effective means to manage stress and boost happiness. We can't control much of the stress surrounding us, but day by day, we can build connections in our brains to be closer to being experts in happiness and managing stress. Exercise is like a miracle drug for the brain. While you're not going to show off your hippocampus in a tank top, if a drug generated the brain benefits that exercise produce, there would be lines stretching miles long to obtain it. Lowers risk of dementia. A study at Cardiff University in the UK followed thousands of people over 30 years and found that simply walking 30 minutes a day lowered the risk of dementia by 65%. The best part, those 30 minutes didn't even have to be done consecutively. These results were replicated in a startling study published in Neurology. The study asked 50-year-old women to work out on an exercise bike, then placed them in 4 categories depending on how long they could work out. The categories ranged from high physical fitness, mostly fit, to could not finish the fitness test. After 4 decades, the researchers found 5% of the women in the high physical fitness category developed dementia. 25% of the women in the moderate and low fitness categories developed dementia. 45% of the women who couldn't finish the fitness test developed dementia. That means that women who were classified as highly physically fit at 50 years old were 90% less likely to develop dementia than the group that could not finish the test decades later. Improves memory. A study published in the Journal of Alzheimer's Disease investigated 2 groups of adults 60 and older. One group did a year of aerobic exercise and the other group just stretched. The group that did aerobic exercise showed a whopping 47% average increase in memory score after that year, while the stretching group didn't see any improvement in memory. Small changes can make a big difference. Here comes the big question. How much exercise do you need to do to protect your brain and keep it plump? Do you need to drop everything and train for a triathlon? Fortunately, no. It turns out even small changes can have a big impact. The next time you're given a choice between stairs and the elevator or escalator, consider this. A 2016 study found that people aged 19 to 79 who consistently took the stairs rather than the elevator had a younger looking brain. Boost brain cell communication. There is a mountain of evidence that exercises makes your brain cells communicate with each other more effectively at any age. That increased brain communication can improve mood and boost happiness. Let's discuss some other exercise tips to keep your brain young. At this point, you might be saying, I get it, exercise is good for my brain. But if the key to any exercise plan is consistency, how do I stay with it? How do I make exercise a habit instead of that exercise bike or treadmill becoming a very expensive coat rack? Making exercise a habit. Acronym CARS, C-A-R-S, Cue, Action, Reward, Support. Cues. When it comes to making exercise a habit, incorporate exercise into our default or autopilot mode. This makes exercise easier for us. We can set up a cue that drives us to take action to stick to an exercise program. Here are 2 cue suggestions. Simply place your walking shoes where you can't miss seeing them as a reminder to take your daily walk. Another visual cue can be to wear a smartwatch that reminds you of your steps. Action. When it comes to exercise, it's best to start small and build. For example, walk in place during TV commercials or before the next episode of what you're streaming. Stand or walk during cell phone calls. Park farther away from the grocery store. Do 10 jumping jacks every hour. You can set your smartphone to remind you to do this. Reward. Exercise has to be fun and rewarding, or your brain will likely not make it a habit. That's why pairing the exercise habit with something you already love doing can be very helpful. Have you heard someone say, I walk on the treadmill every single day and I hate every single second of it? If you enjoy working out on a treadmill, that's great. But if it's drudgery, ditch it and look for a new and enjoyable experience. And newness and novel environments are keys to focus and memory. Try hiking new trails by a lake or just walking in a new neighborhood. Learn a new sport and have fun doing it. The body can acclimate to the same activity and results diminish. The same is true with your brain. Try to keep your workouts fun and fresh. There are endless virtual workouts online and classes at local libraries that teach yoga, dance, Pilates, and Tai Chi. Support. A study found that active participation on a sports team had brain health benefits. It wasn't just playing, but also the socializing that boosted the brain. Finding a workout buddy or join a sports team or exercise class. Penn Jillette of the magic duo Penn and Teller lost 100 pounds. To keep himself motivated, he used a brain trick that would terrify most people. At the beginning of his weight loss journey, he posted his weight on social media every day. That may sound horrifying to you, but that accountability kept him motivated. Be aware, though, you're going to have good days and bad days when you're establishing your exercise habit. Stick with it. If a 45-minute walk is too much to fit in, even 3 short, think 10 to 15-minute walks a day can reap significant brain benefits. Each day you stick to the habit, you are building, strengthening the connections between brain cells that the habit establishes in your brain. Through repetition, those connections will get stronger and stronger, and a healthy habit will be formed. And remember, there's overwhelming evidence that exercise not only slows down and reverses brain age, it can also improve the way your brain works each day. The secret to a healthy brain is just a couple of steps away each day. Hopefully in today's presentation, you've learned some new information. That very action was protecting your brain. Learning new information plays a significant part in disposing of brain trash via a power wash that uses one of your body's most effective brain cleansers, norepinephrine. Norepinephrine is a hormone and neurotransmitter that regulates heart rate, attention, memory, and cognition. When you learn something new, your brain squirts norepinephrine from a brain structure called the locus coeruleus. Norepinephrine breaks up the waste and trash in your brain so it can be excreted when you sleep. This keeps your brain young, healthy, and able to make new connections. Maintaining a healthy brain and strong memory is not all about Sudoku, crossword puzzles, and brain games. Those can be fun, but they can have a brain benefit, but they aren't the only things that can and should do the exercise to the brain. What does make significantly new connections in our brain is learning new skills and acquiring information. The more connections you make, the more likely you are to retain and even enhance your memory. Study after study has found that learning new things significantly lessens the risk of memory loss and slows down brain aging. As you learn new things, you add myelination, a coating around your brain cells that make the electrical signals travel faster. It's similar to the insulation you see on an electrical wire. This myelination allows us to get better at tasks and adds weight to the brain. The thicker the myelin coating gets, the better and faster you're able to learn new things. Embrace that feeling of frustration. Learning a new language or musical instrument is good for your brain. A study found that being bilingual or a musician at any age made the brain more efficient in day-to-day memory tasks. But to get a real good spray of norepinephrine make the new information challenging. Embrace that feeling of frustration when you learn something new and outside your field of expertise. Mix it up. When you think about learning something new, approach it the way you would fitness training. For instance, you wouldn't go to the gym and only work out your forearms. You want to work out different muscles on different days and work on your aerobic fitness as well as building muscle. The same goes for the brain. Learning a language works out different parts of your brain than sports and music do. You can cross-train your brain by mixing mental and physical learning activities. Over the course of a week, for example, play tennis, golf, pickleball, or soccer, learn a new song to sing or play, try your hand at a new language, or read a book on a subject you're not familiar with. When you socialize with others, your brain is challenged to process new information, understand different perspectives, and communicate effectively. This can improve your brain health, including your memory, attention, and problem-solving skills. The key take-home message is that learning new information or a new skill keeps your brain young. So since you're learning something new by being here today, you're doing one of the most important things for your brain. There's a lot of conflicting information about supplements for a few key areas. The FDA does not tightly regulate supplements, thus it can be challenging to know what actually in the supplement and how much of the promised ingredient is present. Supplements can be classified as products that may support health as long as they haven't been proven to cause damage. That's a loophole that needs to be fixed, huh? Often the studies on supplements are funded by the company making the supplement, or include just a number of small people. The use of any supplement should be discussed with a personal physician. That said, there are a few supplements to consider for the health of your brain, and some you can skip. When deciding whether to add a supplement to your daily regimen, get your numbers first. If your values are already in normal ranges, you might not benefit by adding those pills and capsules. On your next doctor's visit, ask about a blood test to check these key factors: folate, vitamin D, and vitamin B12. To summarize today, we've discussed your age versus your brain's age, the importance of brain health, and how to age-proof your brain. Here's the bottom line. Your brain changes all the time. Because your brain is malleable, you can make it more robust and more adaptable at any age to improve memory, manage stress, and boost focus and productivity. You can also transform your brain at any age to adopt new habits, gain perspective, and recover from physical and mental trauma. The great hope of life is that we always are a work in progress, able to get better and be better each day as our brain remodels. And there's going to be a link to a resource in our follow-up email that you can use to retain your brain. Hope you found this information helpful today. I'm sure I butchered many of the scientific words. Maybe it provided a light entertainment for you and a chuckle. Appreciate you being here today for this. We look forward to seeing you at future events. Thanks again for attending today. Have a great rest of the day.